clawed at the grains in earnest. It seemed a losing battle at first, for with every handful of sand he moved, more fell into the pocket of air he'd just created. But over time he made his way to the surface, unearthing himself like something out of a human's nightmare with a little help from the night winds. The effort exhausted him. Once free of the heavy weight, he collapsed face first onto the sand and rolled over onto his back. He gathered his energy as he ran his tongue over his lips, cracked and dry with thirst. He couldn't even swallow. Squinting his eyes against the brightness of the moon, he let his head fall to the side. All he saw was sand, sand, and more fucking sand. Turning the other way, he saw much of the same. Wait, no. There were a few patches of creosote, and just beyond it some type of round cactus, neither of which would ease his particular type of thirst. Dante studied the bursts of light above him. It had been a long time since he recalled seeing so many stars in one place before. As his eyes followed a particularly fascinating constellation spanning across the never-ending expanse of blackness, they were drawn down to a portion of the night that was brighter, more illuminated than the rest. Only one thing lit up the sky like that. A city. And where there was a city, there were humans. And humans were full of blood, much more than the scaly creatures he'd been surviving on up until now. Dante burst to his feet in a flash of movement that belied his exhaustion of just a few moments ago. The thirst burned his insides like the sun burned his skin, and his fangs shot down, ready to feed. Pure vampire instinct took over, and Dante became the predator he had been reborn to be. Chapter 2. Lainey Moss took her water bottle from the side pocket of her backpack. Unscrewing the cap, she took a long swig of the tepid liquid, wrinkling her nose at the metallic taste. Her white tank top was sticking to the trail of sweat running down the middle of her back, but she could already feel the first drafts of cooler air that would come with nightfall. Eyeing the setting sun, she stuck the bottle back in its designated pocket and set out again. Maybe not such a great idea to start a hike so late in the day, but nature had called, and after the hectic week she'd had, she'd answered with enthusiasm. So here she was, about 30 minutes south of her apartment in Vegas, hiking through the upper portion of the Mojave Desert. She saw a distant marker on the trail and squinted at the sinking sun again. If she kept up a good pace, she should be able to reach her car before it completely set. But first, she took just a moment to admire the breathtaking pink and orange hues of dusk streaking the blue sky. Following the reach of the sun with her eyes, she watched as the last lingering rays touched the cactus and the other foliage, and tinted the sand with gold like a painting come to life. Sighing with pleasure at the wonder of Mother Nature, Lainey resumed her hike. She was about a mile from her car when the temperature took a swift dive. The sun had dipped below the horizon, but she could still see well enough. However, she was an experienced hiker, and she knew that when full darkness came, it would be fast and sudden, which is why she was well supplied with a flashlight, a headlamp, and pepper spray to ward off any nighttime critters that might get too curious. Stepping off the trail, she took off her pack and set it on an outcropping of red rocks so she could find her gray pullover hoodie. Pulling it out of her pack, she gave it a good shake to make sure nothing had crawled in there during her last break. Sticking one arm into a sleeve, Lainey froze, listening. She thought she'd heard something behind her. Perhaps she'd surprised an animal coming out of its burrow after sleeping the day away. Moving only her eyes, Lainey looked from side to side, and then cautiously turned her head to look behind her. She could have sworn. But no, there wasn't anything there. It was probably nothing more than a shifting of the sand, either from the wind or a reptile, but it was enough to set her on high alert.